The warning lights flashed red across the communication deck of the human space station. Lieutenant Cho Hanwol pulled off his headset and stared at the screen with wide eyes. His hands shook as he reached for the emergency button. "Commander Lee, you need to hear this right now." Commander Lee Daewon ran into the room. His black uniform was still wrinkled from sleep. "What is it, Hanwol?" "It's a distress call, sir, from the Epsilon sector." Lee's face went pale. Everyone knew about the Epsilon sector. It was the part of space that made grown aliens cry. No one went there. Ever. "Play it," Lee ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was weak and full of fear. It spoke in the musical language of the Valari people. Dr. Park Mira rushed in just as the translation began. "Please, anyone who can hear this. We are trapped on Keith Prime. The Ravagers have returned. They are taking our children. We cannot fight them. We cannot run. Please. We will all die here." The message cut to static. The three humans stood in silence. Park Mira was the first to speak. "The Ravagers, but they're just stories, old legends." "Not anymore," Lee said grimly. He pressed a button on his desk. "Captain Kim, get to the bridge. We're calling an emergency meeting." 30 minutes later, the senior staff sat around a metal table. Captain Kim Ji-won looked tired but alert. Engineer Song Yuna had oil stains on her jumpsuit from working on the ship engines all night. "How many Valari are we talking about?" Kim asked. "The last census showed 2 million on Keth Prime," Park Mira answered. "They're peaceful people, artists, philosophers, teachers. They have no weapons, no army." "And the Ravagers?" Song Yuna asked. Park Mira pulled up old files on her tablet. "According to the records, they're nightmares. They travel in bioships that are alive. They eat other intelligent species. Not just kill them. They keep them alive and harvest their brains." Hanwol made a sick face. "That's horrible." "It gets worse," Park Mira continued. "They disappeared. 300 years ago, everyone thought they were extinct. If they're back, they'll eat their way across the galaxy." Lee finished. Kim stood up and walked to the window. Outside, they could see the lights of other alien ships. "What does the Galactic Council say?" "I sent the message to them 6 hours ago," Hanwol said. "They're meeting now. And? They're scared. Really scared. The next day, the humans received their answer. The Galactic Council had decided to do nothing." The message came from Ambassador Zeph, a tall crystal being who spoke for the Nexari Empire. "The Council has reviewed the situation," the message began. "While we feel great sadness for the Valari, we cannot risk our fleets in the Epsilon sector. Keth Prime is a death world. The gravity will crush our ships. The atmosphere will poison our crews. The temperature changes will freeze and burn us at the same time. We are sorry, but we cannot help." Lee turned off the message and looked at his team. "So that's it? 2 million people die because everyone else is too scared?" "It's not that simple," Park Mira said quietly. "For them, it really is impossible. The Nexari are made of crystal. High gravity would shatter them. The Lumina are gas beings. They can't survive in solid matter. The hive creatures need perfect temperature control." "But we can," Kim said. Everyone looked at her. She was staring out the window at the stars. "We can survive there," she said again. "High gravity? We train in 3 times Earth gravity. Toxic air? We have environmental suits, hot and cold. We live on a planet that has deserts and ice caps." Song Yuna nodded slowly. "The ship modifications would be tough, but possible. We'd need to boost the shields and upgrade the life support." "Are you all crazy?" Hanwol asked. "It's a death world, with monsters that eat brains." Lee stood up. His decision was already made. "Send a message to the Council. Tell them humanity volunteers for the rescue mission." "Sir, they'll think we're insane," Hanwol protested. "Let them think that," Lee said. "How long to prep the fleet, Song?" "Give me 48 hours. I'll have 5 ships ready for anything." 2 days later, 5 human ships hung in space near the E-Eider Council Station. The alien delegates watched through their windows as the humans made final preparations. The ships looked small and fragile compared to the massive alien vessels around them. Ambassador Zeph floated over to the human docking bay. His crystal body chimed like bells when he moved. "Commander Lee, the Council wishes to speak with you." Lee followed the ambassador to the main chamber. Hundreds of alien beings filled the room. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of light and energy. A few were so strange that Lee couldn't figure out what they were. "You cannot be serious about this mission," Zeph said. "Our best scientists have studied Keth Prime. Nothing can survive there except the most basic life forms." "We're not basic life forms," Lee replied. "We're humans. We come from Earth. Earth is tougher than Keth Prime." A ripple of disbelief went through the chamber. The aliens whispered among themselves in a dozen languages. "You will die within hours," said a voice from the insect delegation. "The Ravagers have never been defeated. They have consumed entire civilizations." "Then it's time someone taught them a lesson," Lee said. The council voted. The mission was approved, but only as a reconnaissance with possible civilian rescue. Everyone expected the humans to gather some information before they were killed. As the human fleet prepared to leave, Park Mira stood on the bridge of the flagship Soul's Pride. Through the window, she could see alien ships keeping their distance. Some were recording everything, probably to study the humans' final moments. "They think we're going to die," she said to Kim. "Maybe we are," Kim replied. "But those people called for help. Someone has to answer." The 5 human ships turned toward the Epsilon sector. Their engines flared blue-white as they jumped into hyperspace. Behind them, the alien fleet watched in silence. None of them expected to see the humans again, but they were about to learn something important about Earth's children. Humans didn't just survive on Deathworlds, they thrived there. The journey to Keth Prime would take 3 days. 3 days to reach a world that had become a nightmare. 3 days before the galaxy learned why you should never trap humans' friends on a death world. The Ravagers were about to meet their first real predators, and they were going to be very, very sorry. 3 days later, the human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Keth Prime system. What they saw made even the hardened space marines go quiet. "My God," whispered Captain Kim Ji-won from the pilot's seat. The planet below them was burning. Huge craters covered the surface like wounds. Cities that had stood for thousands of years were now just smoking ruins. Pieces of destroyed Valari ships floated in space around the planet like a metal graveyard. "How many ships did they have?" asked engineer Song Yuna. "According to the records, about 50, Dr. Park Mira replied, studying her screen. "I'm only seeing debris from maybe 10. The rest are probably on the surface," Commander Lee Daewon said grimly, "or inside those things." He pointed at the monsters floating near the planet. They were the Ravager bioships, and they were even worse than the old stories described. Each one was the size of a small moon, but they were alive. Their surfaces pulsed like beating hearts. Long tentacles reached out from their sides, grabbing space debris and pulling it inside to be digested. "Sir, I'm picking up movement from the lead ship," Lieutenant Cho Han-wol reported. "They've seen us." "How big is that thing?" Kim asked. 2 kilometers long, Song Yuna read from her instruments. "And it's growing." The largest bioship turned toward them. Its surface split open like a mouth, revealing rows of organic cannons that glowed with sickly green light. Smaller ships began pouring out of openings along its sides. These were fighter-sized creatures with wings and claws. "They're attacking," Han-wol shouted. The first wave of biofighters screamed toward the human fleet. Green energy beams shot from their bodies, lighting up the darkness of space. "Evasive maneuvers," Lee ordered. Kim's hands flew over the controls. The Soul's Pride twisted and rolled through space in patterns that would have killed any alien crew from the G-forces alone. The other human ships followed, dancing through the enemy fire like leaves in a storm. "How are we not dead?" Han-wol asked, gripping his chair as the ship spun upside down. "Because we're built for this." Kim grinned, pulling the ship into a spiral that brought them behind 3 enemy fighters. "Song, give me everything you've got. Firing." Song Yuna hammered the weapon controls. Human plasma cannons tore through the biofighters, turning them into burning chunks of organic matter. But more kept coming. Dozens, then hundreds of the creatures poured from the motherships. "We can't fight them all," Park Mira said. "We need to get to the planet." "Agreed," Lee said into his communicator. "All ships follow my lead. We're going down." The human fleet dove toward Keth Prime's surface. The biofighters followed, but as they entered the planet's atmosphere, something strange happened. The enemy ships began to slow down and fly poorly. "The gravity is affecting them," Song Yuna realized. "They're built for space combat, not planetary assault." "But we're not," Kim said. She pushed the engines harder, and the human ships accelerated toward the surface. They broke through the toxic clouds and saw the nightmare below. Keth Prime looked like a vision of hell. The sky was a sick yellow color. Lightning storms raged across continents. The ground was covered in sharp rocks and pools of acid. Strange creatures moved through the wasteland, things with too many legs and glowing eyes. "Temperature reading?" Lee asked. "-60 degrees at the poles, plus 50 at the equator," Hanwol reported. "Gravity is 3 times Earth normal. Atmosphere is 70% toxic." "Sounds like a Tuesday on Earth," Song Yuna joked, but her voice was tight with worry. They found the Valari survivors in underground bunkers near what used to be their capital city. The buildings above were destroyed, but life scanner readings showed thousands of people hiding below ground. "Setting us down," Kim announced. The ship shook as it landed on the rocky surface. Lee stood up and grabbed his helmet. "Suit up, everyone. Song, you stay with the ship. Everyone else, we're going in." The humans stepped out onto Keth Prime's surface. The gravity hit them like a heavy blanket, but they kept walking. Their environmental suits protected them from the toxic air, and their training kicked in. "Movement, 2 o'clock, Park Mira said, pointing to their right. A group of Ravagers emerged from behind a destroyed building. Up close, they were even more terrifying. Each one stood 4 meters tall on 8 spider-like legs. Their bodies were covered in black armor that seemed to absorb light. Acid dripped from their claws, and their multiple eyes glowed red in the dim light. "So that's what a Ravager looks like," Hanwol whispered. The creatures saw the humans and made a sound like breaking glass. They charged forward, their legs carrying them across the rough ground at incredible speed. "Light them up," Lee shouted. The humans opened fire. Their plasma rifles sent bright beams into the attacking monsters. The first few Ravagers stumbled and fell, black ichor spraying from their wounds. But something unexpected happened. The remaining Ravagers stopped running. They made that glass-breaking sound again, but this time it sounded different. Almost like fear? "They're backing away," Park Mira said in amazement. "Since when do Ravagers retreat?" Hanwol asked. The monsters circled the humans but didn't attack. Their red eyes stared at the small figures in environmental suits. Finally, one of them made a complex series of sounds and gestures to the others. The entire group backed away further. "I don't think they know what to make of us," Lee said. The humans made their way to the entrance of the underground bunkers. The heavy metal door was sealed tight, but they could hear sounds from inside. "Hello?" Park Mira called out in the Valari language. "We're here to help. We're from the Galactic Federation." The door opened slowly. A tall, thin alien peeked out. The Valari had pale blue skin and large, gentle eyes. This one looked terrified and half-starved. You came?" the alien whispered. "But this is Keth Prime. No one can survive here." "We're humans," Park Mira said gently. "We got your message." "Humans?" The Valari's eyes went wide. "But the council said it was impossible. They said you would die." "We're harder to kill than they think," Lee said. "How many of you are down there?" 800 in this bunker. Maybe 50,000 total across the planet." The Valari's voice broke. "There were 2 million of us last month." The humans exchanged grim looks. "Where are the others?" Park Mira asked. "In the bioships. The Ravagers keep them alive. They feed on our minds." They harvest our thoughts and memories while we still live. Hanwol made a sick sound inside his helmet. Not anymore, Lee said firmly. We're getting you out of here, all of you. As if responding to his words, a deep rumbling sound came from the sky. They looked up to see one of the massive bioships descending toward the planet's surface. This one was even bigger than the others, with tentacles that looked like they could wrap around a city. That's the Queen ship, the Valari whispered. She's come to see what dared to challenge her children. The bioship settled onto the ground a few kilometers away. The earth shook with its weight. Smaller ravagers began pouring out of openings in its sides, but these were different, bigger, meaner, with better armor and brighter glowing eyes. The elite guard, Lee realized. She's sending her best. We can't fight that many, Hanwol said. We don't have to fight them all, Lee replied. We just have to make them think twice about messing with humans. He activated his communicator. Song, prepare the ship for combat landing. Bring everything we've got. What's the plan, sir? Lee looked at the approaching army of nightmares, then at the frightened Valari survivors, then at his small team of humans standing on an alien death world. We're going to teach the Ravagers something they've never learned before, he said. What happens when you threaten humans' friends? The battle for Keth Prime was about to begin, and the galaxy was about to discover why Earth's children were called Deathworlders. The real war was just starting. The elite Ravagers moved across Keth Prime's surface like a black wave of death. There were hundreds of them, each one bigger and stronger than the creatures the humans had faced before. Their armor gleamed with metal spikes, and weapons grew from their arms like living tools. They're surrounding us, Lieutenant Cho Hanwol reported, watching his scanner. Good, Commander Lee Daewon said. Now we don't have to look for them. Dr. Park Mira stared at him. Sir, there are 5 of us and hundreds of them. Then it's almost a fair fight, Lee replied with a grim smile. Engineer Song Yuna's voice came through their communicators from the ship. I'm picking up their communications. They're using some kind of chemical signals mixed with sound. Can you translate it? Lee asked. Working on it now. Got it. They're calling us something. The words translate to the Apex Death Spawn. Death Spawn? Hanwol asked. They think we're some kind of mythical creatures, Song continued. According to their communications, their race has legends about beings that would come from the galaxy's most dangerous worlds. Creatures that could turn any place into a hunting ground. They're afraid of us, Park Mira realized. The lead Ravager, bigger than the others with golden stripes on its armor, made a series of clicking sounds. The army stopped moving forward but kept their circle around the humans. What are they waiting for? The Valari survivor whispered. Lee activated his external speakers so the Ravagers could hear him. You made a mistake, he said in a clear, loud, "Heute." You hurt our friends. Now you have to deal with humans. The Golden Ravager clicked again, and Song's translation came through their earpieces. It says, Small death spawn, you are only 5. We are the swarm. You cannot stop us. Watch us, Lee said. He raised his plasma rifle and fired a single shot into the air. It was a signal. Suddenly, the sky filled with light as the other 4 human ships descended from orbit. Their weapons blazed as they strafed the Ravager army. But Lee had split his forces before landing. Half the human Marines were still in space, and now they came down like falling stars. Drop pods crashed into the ground around the battlefield, and armored humans poured out with heavy weapons. Surprise, Lee said into his communicator. The battle began. The Ravagers had never fought an enemy like humans before. Every other species they had conquered fought predictably. They formed lines, used cover, retreated when hurt. But humans fought like the wild animals from their home world. Captain Kim Ji-won piloted her ship through the atmosphere, like it was an extension of her body. She flew between the Ravager bioships using their own tentacles against them. When one tried to grab her ship, she rolled and twisted until the creature tied itself in knots. On the ground, the human Marines moved like pack hunters. They didn't just shoot at the Ravagers. They used the environment. Song Yuna had rigged explosive charges that turned the planet's acid pools into weapons. When Ravagers chased human soldiers, they found themselves running into traps that used Keth primes. Own dangers against them. They're adapting to our tactics too quickly, one Marine reported. These things learn fast. Then we don't give them time to learn, Lee replied. He switched to the command frequency. All units, execute Plan Chaos. Plan Chaos was something no other galactic species would have attempted. Instead of fighting as an army, the humans split into tiny groups and began hunting the Ravagers individually. They used every dirty trick, every guerrilla tactic, every predator instinct that millions of years of evolution on Earth had given them. Park Mira led a team of medical specialists into the Queen ship itself. While the others fought outside, she and her people cut their way through the living walls of the bioship to reach the captured Volari. The ship's immune system is trying to stop us, one medic reported as living antibodies attacked their suits. Then we work faster, Park Mira said. She found the first group of prisoners suspended in organic pods, tubes feeding into their heads. The sight made her angry in a way that few things ever had. Get them out, she ordered. All of them. As the humans cut the Volari free, something unexpected happened. The Queen ship began to scream. It was a sound that came from everywhere at once, a wail of pain and rage that shook the ground. What did you do? Song Yuna asked over the radio. We're rescuing her food supply, Park Mira replied. She's not happy about it. The Queen ship's scream had an effect that no one anticipated. The other Ravagers on the battlefield suddenly stopped fighting and began retreating toward their ships. They moved with panic, not the calculated movements of professional warriors. They're running, Hanwell said in amazement. First time in history, Lee said. Keep pushing. But the Golden Ravager wasn't giving up. It charged directly at Lee, its claws extended and acid spraying from its mouth. Lee didn't run or take cover. Instead, he did something that shocked every alien who later watched the recordings. He charged back. The two collided in the middle of the battlefield. The Ravager was 4 times Lee's size and had natural weapons that could cut through metal. But Lee fought with something the creature had never encountered before, pure human stubbornness. He rolled under the creature's claws, jammed his rifle into a gap in its armor, and fired repeatedly. The Ravager shrieked and tried to grab him, but Lee was already moving. He climbed onto the creature's back and found the soft spot where its head met its body. This is for the Volari, he said, and drove his combat knife into the creature's brain. The Golden Ravager crashed to the ground. Its death cry echoed across the battlefield, and the remaining creatures began fleeing in terror. The Queen ship is lifting off, Kim reported from her fighter. It's running too. Let it go, Lee said, but make sure it takes a message back, to its friends. He activated his communicator and broadcast on all frequencies, knowing the fleeing bioships would hear him. This is Commander Lee Daewin of the human fleet, he said. Tell every Ravager in the galaxy that Earth's children are watching. Touch our friends again, and we'll hunt you to the edge of the universe. 2 hours later, the battlefield was quiet. The humans had rescued over 40,000 Volari survivors from the bioships and bunkers. The cost had been high. 12 human Marines were dead and many more were wounded, but they had done something impossible. They had defeated the Ravagers. Sir, Hanwell said, I'm getting a message from the Galactic Council. They want to speak with you immediately. Put them through, Lee said. Ambassador Zeph's crystal form appeared on the screen, but he looked different now, smaller somehow, more fragile. Commander Lee, the alien said quietly, the entire galaxy has been watching. We monitored your battle. And we have reconsidered humanity's status in the Federation. The Council unanimously votes to offer your species a permanent seat on the Security Council. Lee looked around at his tired, dirty team, at the rescued Volari who were crying with relief, at the proof that humans could do what no other species thought possible. We accept, he said. But understand something. This isn't about politics or power. This is about making sure that when someone calls for help, someone answers. We understand, Zeph said. Welcome to the Guardians of the Galaxy, Deathworlders. As the human fleet prepared to leave Keth Prime with their rescued passengers, Park Mira stood at the window watching the stars. Song Yuna joined her, still covered in bioship fluid from her repairs. Think they'll try again? Song asked. The Ravagers? Maybe. But now they know something they didn't before. What's that? Park Mira smiled. There are worse things in the galaxy than monsters who eat planets. There are humans who protect them. The human fleet jumped to hyperspace carrying news that would change the galaxy forever. Earth's children had announced themselves not as conquerors, but as protectors. And across the void, other species began to understand that the small blue world in the corner of the galaxy had produced something truly dangerous. Heroes.